Hi everyone, Dr. Victoria Skirbo here. So today is my seventh show, Conversations with Friends. And today you get to meet my friend Sheila. I met Sheila back in 1991, so it's a long time ago. I had just opened my chiropractic practice in Plymouth, and she came in to sell me super coops. And we just hit it off, and we've been friends ever since. And she has a very interesting story to tell, um, from seller of super coops to healer. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoy her as much as I enjoy her. And without further ado, my friend Sheila. Hi, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Caesar Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. We are here today for the next episode, episode number 7 of Conversations with Friends. And today you get to meet my friend Sheila. Hi, Sheila.
Hi, Vicky. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So Sheila and I have known each other for, a long time, I think. Actually, Sheila was one of the first people I met in Massachusetts, and the first person, sort of like the new friend that you make when you move to a different state. That was Sheila. So when was that? How long ago was that, Sheila?
31 years ago.
Oh,
I just did the math.
I'm glad she did the math. I probably would have dropped about 10 years from that. But anyway, yeah. So 19.
89.
No, I didn't. No, you might have been here since 89. See, I knew it wasn't that long. 1992, when you
No,
were working for Super Coops.
at
91?
least 91. At least 91.
Okay, 91 then. I'll give
Because
you
I
90.
worked for Super Coops from late 89 through March of 92.
So it was 91 because I just opened my practice.
Okay, so 91.
So and you came in and sat across from me, and that was it. We were friends.
That's right.
Even
But
though
you were from New York and I was from Connecticut.
that's right.
So I was able to make fun of your accent, and you were like, I got nothing because you don't have an accent.
That's right. Well, usually if you're going to make fun of somebody from Connecticut, it's not for their accent, right?
And go for it.
So, so you were selling super coops, right? I was a chiropractor, but you don't do that anymore. You've had quite the journey. You're a massage therapist now, and a healer. And why don't you tell people, like, super coops, and then in between there, you owned a furniture store with your husband. So
So I was in Super Coops because I had just recently been divorced and was desperate to leave my career of retailing. And like when I lived in Connecticut, I worked for all the big retailers and was desperate to move to Massachusetts, which I got the opportunity to do, and then was divorced from my first husband and decided I gotta get out of this because I just don't like it. I don't like it. And Super Coops fell into my lap, which was really nice because it's still selling, but you don't have to worry about who's going to open the door, and
right.
you're going out and you're your own boss, which I liked. But at the same time that I met you, Vicky, I also met my second husband, who was also a Super Coops person. I kind of develop relationships with people, you know. And he owned a mattress factory, which was in a not good building in Buzzards Bay, Wareham line. And he was desperate to get out of that building. And he had his eyes on a big old Grange Hall that was a furniture store previously in Wareham. And our relationship went rather quickly when we finally did get to go out with each other. And he said, I'm going to move the store. And I said, where? And he said, to the old Coburn and Davidson building on Main Street. Now, this building alone gave me the creeps in 1981, the first time I saw it.
Yes.
So I immediately said, I don't really think that's a really, I mean, it's such a huge building. What would a mattress factory do in there? And he said, we'll fill it with furniture. Notice the we will fill it.
Mm-hmm. So I guess the Grange Hall wasn't the only thing he had his eye on at the time.
Oh no, we had already decided we were getting married.
Okay.
No. This was already done. I grazed over that. And I said, I don't know anything about mattresses. I can't do that. And I don't know anything about furniture except that I like it. And he said, you'll learn. And so 17 years we did that on Main Street.
Yeah.
Lots of ups and downs, but towards the end of it, I'll fast forward to 97. In 1997, my mother decided she was selling our family home in Connecticut and she was going to move up to Cape Cod because she wanted to be near me. And the rage that poured out of my body was not healthy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. We had a 2-year-old and Colin was 16 at that point, and a big business.
Yes.
And a big house, and the last thing I needed was to babysit mom, which was pretty much. She said, "Oh, it'll be so much fun. We'll be able to come. I'll be able to come up. We'll go to lunch. We'll go shopping." And I'm like, no. So I decided I needed help, but I didn't know where it was going to come from. Of course, the first thing you think of is I'll find a counselor because I'm raging everywhere here.
Right.
But I had a friend also say to me, have you ever heard of Reiki? And I said, well, I don't know why that just rang a bell, but who do you go to? Where can I go?
Right.
And it was my Reiki master was in
Lucia, right?
Lucia.
Yeah.
Was in a tiny little room in Mashpee.
She was was she at the bookstore there? Is that where she was?
Is that where she started? Yes, she was at the
Yep.
bookstore by Batello's.
Mm-hmm.
And then she moved down the street. But so I was going to both. And I remember my husband saying, Brian said, do you need both? And I said, I don't know. He said, well, what do you think? And I said, someone's going to win. And about the third appointment, I walked into the psychotherapist, and she just locked and loaded about all this stuff about my mom. And I looked at her and I said, I'm not jiving with you here. I don't want any part of this. And I pretty much got up and walked out, which is so not me.
Right. Yeah. Once you commit, that's it.
I will be so polite and, I'm going to make it through this. And I was like, no, you have to go to the other side of the room. Called Lucia and had yet another appointment with her, who was wonderful because she connected me with my favorite aunt that had passed, who was like my guide at that point in time. And I didn't know it. So Aunt Margaret was always with me. And Lucia would have wonderful conversations with her. She's extremely intuitive, the strongest Reiki energy I've ever felt in the world from Lucia. And I decided I was going to be attuned in Reiki 1. And a year later, I did Reiki 2. When my mom moved up, I'll back up. She was always a very healthy person. She finished unpacking her last box. She served Easter dinner that year. And she got sick in ways I can't even enumerate and tell you. It's just a year and a half later, almost 2 years later, she was dead.
Yeah.
And if it weren't for my Reiki practice, I don't know how I would have made it through because it was like a whirlwind. Yeah. Her soul drove her here so she could be with me to pass. That's the only thing I can.
Right.
That's what I get. When I was attuned with Reiki 2, I was in the store one day and a customer who was a good customer came in and said, do you do Reiki? And I said, that's so weird that you just said that. I do. She said, I just got attuned and I need to do shares. So you want to do Reiki share with me? So I said, yeah. So I would go over to Sally's house and I would do an hour and then she'd work on me for an hour. And one day I came in, I had just come back from the furniture market in High Point and I was stressed. I was pressed. I was frazzled and I blew in the door. And I said, I only have exactly 2.5 hours, so let's work on you right away. And she just blew back and she said, whoa, what is going on with you?
Right.
And I said, Sally, I just got back from High Point. I've got so many things going on. I've got budgets falling out of my briefcase. I got to get back and work. And she says, no, go take your clothes off. You're getting a massage.
Uh-oh.
And this was my first.
Sally gave her a massage.
This was my first massage. And I fought her and she said, I'm not taking it. Now, Sally was an intensive care nurse at that point.
Right.
And I used to lovingly call her Nurse Nancy because it was like, if she knew what she wanted to do, she just pushed you out of the way and she did it.
Yes.
So anyway, she finished my massage. I'd never had anything like it before in my life. And she leaned over, she said, okay, you're all set. Get up when you can. And I laid there and I wept. And I said, if I could make people feel this good, I would be so fulfilled. Because again, I had been sucked back into retailing. I hated retailing. Nothing made me like it. Nothing made me like it except we had huge front windows and I created room displays in the front windows. That's the only thing that made me happy, was creating those rooms that just would stop people and say, wow, that's really amazing. So that was my fulfilling part of it. So I told Sally about that and she said, you need to do this. Again, another very intuitive woman. And I said, do what? And she said, massage. And I said, Sally, I don't have time or the funds to go to school for massage. And she said, it will come to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think probably 2 years or so, I went to go see her every 2 weeks. She, between doing Reiki with me and massage, which is so easy to do when you're massaging, which is what I do. It's like you can't turn the energy off. So
right.
All you have to do is intend. And in 2003, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So Sally, who had also had breast cancer, said, don't worry, we're going to make it through this. It's okay. We're going to make it through this. And she helped me a lot after the surgery because I had a lot of restrictions and a lot of
scar
pain
tissue.
and yeah, it was, but she got me moving like really quickly. And excuse me, just so happened about a year after that, I was able to sell my mother's house, which other things were tied up in that.
In
and
Connecticut?
It was like my mom, pardon me?
Was that the one in Connecticut?
No, Mashpee. She was living in Mashpee.
Oh, right. She moved up. Right.
Her significant other at the time that she died decided he was going to go back to Connecticut. So yay. So we were able to sell it. And it loosened up a way for me to say, I'm going to school. I'm going to do this and it's not going to hurt.
Your mother's final gift to you.
Absolutely. Right? And believe me, I have a wonderful rapport with my mother, closer than when she was here. I shouldn't say that. Well, yeah, better. Let's put it that way.
Better, yeah.
Because you can't get much closer to a person when you're sitting on top of them.
Right.
So, and Mom loves to sit on top of me, metaphorically, as much as possible. So,
right.
But she understands. And, every time I have a reading of any kind, everybody always says, your mother just wants to say she's sorry. And I just like, Mom, stop. So anyway, it was my mother's final gift to me. And massage came, I'm not going to say easy because it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I just kept hearing Sally say, just get through the schooling because you know what to do. Yeah. You are intuitive, you know what to do, and this is going to just streamline for you. So we ended up actually, for many different reasons, closing the store, retiring the store into middle 2005. It started in 2005? No, it was 2006. We started in January of 2006. And I thought I was going to be able to do both, have a massage practice and run the store. And it was ridiculous. And my husband and I came to blows over something so small, but it was like the straw that broke the camel's back, which was perfect We were able to both let go of the store and say, you got to go.
Right.
The monster that we brought home every night for dinner was going to be put to sleep. So I didn't start my own massage practice. I went to go work with somebody. Well, I worked out of my house, but I went to go work with somebody in Sandwich for 2 years. And
Right.
then I said to her, I really want my own practice. And she said, rent the room, which I did. And so I started Release in 2008. Release Therapeutic Massage and Bodywork.
There you go.
And I love what I do. I just love what I do. I had moved from an area which was called Merchant Square in Sandwich to a corner single home property down the street, not even an eighth of a mile from where I was. And my intention for that building was, I want to be so busy that people see each other coming and going, that my clients see each other in the waiting room coming and going, and it's never stopped.
Yeah.
Never
Until COVID-19.
until COVID-19.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I have been massaged by you. You have saved my life more than once through your kindness when I most needed it and could least afford it. And you're phenomenal. You've always been a great business person. Always have great instincts. But yes, it was very stressful. I mean, I don't know how you did it, quite frankly, for as long as you did. But I think the change in you has been profound from the Sheila that I met back in 1991 to the Sheila that sits in front of me now.
the
And
hurricane in high heels.
yeah, and now you're a hurricane in sneakers, probably. What do you wear on your feet? Clogs, But yeah, I mean, you still have the drive, but it's coming from a different place. It's coming from a much more heart-centered place, whereas I think before it was maybe a root or even a solar plexus, like survival place. Now it's like I really love this. This really feels good.
Well, I always felt threatened. I can remember feeling threatened when I was a little girl.
Yeah.
I was never good enough. I never stacked up to anybody else. And I was always incredibly intuitive also when I was young.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up Catholic, went to a Catholic school. One of the things that you and I always had in common.
Yes, Catholic school girl.
Catholics. Yeah. And I had, when I was 3 years old, my dad had an accident. A building fell on him. And he was saved by falling onto a spool that cable was put on, but
Right.
every bone in his back was broken. And back in 1964, you just stay in the hospital.
Right.
I mean, he was in a body cast, and then he was in a brace, and he was in the hospital from March 31st when the accident happened to the very end of June. And I didn't see him. I couldn't see him because you couldn't let kids go in the hospital.
Right.
My mom could run cartons of cigarettes into him, but I couldn't go in and see him.
Oh, those were the days.
Yeah, yeah. So I had a dream, and it was a recurring dream. It was a nightmare that started when he was in the hospital. And we were on the dream is, we were on our family boat, and my mother and my sister were up on the bow, and my father was at the wheel in the middle of the boat. It was a cabin cruiser. And I was told to be a good girl and sit on the back seat and do not move, of which I did. And we were out. It was a sunny Sunday afternoon, and the water was like glass. And we were just kind of putting. And my father started to cough at the wheel. And I sat on the back seat and I said, Daddy, Daddy, you okay? Daddy, you okay? And he can't answer me, and he's coughing, and he gets up, he walks away from the wheel, and he comes to the side of the boat right next to me, in front of me, and he's coughing over the side of the boat. And I'm yelling for my mom. They don't hear me because the engine's running. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a big wave comes and takes the boat and rocks the boat over. My father falls over the side of the boat. I stand up, which I'm not supposed to do because I'm told to sit there. So I'm disobeying. And I look over the side of the boat and I can see my father floating to the bottom. And I wake up screaming. And I had this dream from the time that I was 3 till the time that I was 11, many times.
Right.
And, you know, the reactions always were, because my sister and I shared a room. My sister would say, "Oh, sis, there's nothing wrong. Don't be so upset. You're screaming. It's okay." I would tell my mother about it, and she'd say, "That's ridiculous. We would never ignore you. Nothing's going to happen." You know, doesn't make it go away. And I literally
Right.
had PTSD from this dream.
Right.
So my dad was always in pain because of his back being broken.
Right.
And my sister had just graduated from X-ray technology school, and she had worked for a orthopedic surgeon who said, "I can help your dad with his pain. We can do a myelogram. He's got to go in the hospital for 24 hours." But she was like, "Okay." And my father said, "I'll do anything. I just gotta do
Yep.
it." So he goes into the hospital. No, that day he was going into the hospital. He's sitting in the kitchen with me, standing in front of the sink, and I'm sitting in the corner. And he says, "Don't worry, Kip says, you know, I'll be home tomorrow afternoon. We'll be able to go away on the boat. I'm going to feel so much better." And he clears his throat, and all of a sudden he starts to cough.
Oh no.
And he coughed, and he coughed, and he coughed, and he coughed. I'm going, "Dad, Daddy, Dad," just like the dream. And I start to sob crying because I'm having my dream in reality.
Right.
And then he starts spitting up blood into the sink. So he takes himself out of the house, and he's choking and coughing outside the house. And when he comes back in, my mother comes downstairs. I'm shaking, I'm crying. And she, you know, she yells at me. She says, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, Daddy's coughing, blah, blah, blah. So he's fine. Don't worry about it. Why are you coughing like that? You shouldn't be smoking cigarettes. So this was 1973. They went off to the hospital. My mother had to take him to the hospital. And I spent the entire day walking the house, wringing my hands, because this was so real to me. This was so real to me. Finally, when they finally got home, my sister and my mom, like 8 o'clock that night, no one called or said, "We're not coming home."
Right.
I was a basket case, and they walked in the door, and I said, "What's wrong with Daddy? What's wrong? What happened?" And my mother said, "You know, who told you?" And I said, "Tell me what?" My sister was told by the doctor, "I don't have a lung X, I don't have a chest X-ray of your dad. Take a chest X-ray for me." So she goes, she takes him in for a chest X-ray. They take him into the operating room. They do the injection into his spine. She puts the X-ray up on the screen, and there's a massive tumor in his lung.
Right.
So my sister found the cancer, and I had the dream about it for 7 years beforehand.
Wow.
So I've always had this intuitive streak that I was certain when this happened, and I'm 11 years old, I was a witch.
Right.
I just felt like I was a witch. How could I know something like that? Especially when you're fed all of the Catholicism and so forth. And
Right.
I would hear ghosts in the house all the time, and you're not supposed to do that. And so I've always had this very strong intuitive streak that the more that I and myself practice meditate now, I am so cohesive and coherent with things going on that it's almost like I'm reading between the lines and seeing things.
Right.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Does that sometimes happen when you're with a patient and you're working on them? Do you sometimes get
Oh yeah.
information with that? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And they'll kind of look at me surprised and say, "Did I tell you that?" No.
Mm.
No.
Yeah.
I just felt that there was something going on, or you know, they'll walk in and I'll just out of nowhere I'll just pick up, "How's so and so?" And they'll start to cry and they'll go, "Oh, they're so sick, blah, blah, blah." Okay, well, we need to work on that.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the body does hold quite a bit if you know how to read it
Yeah.
as well, but you have that extra sense and ability to see, and that's especially scary when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Now it's like super cool, but
It is. It is. However, unfortunately, kids now, because I work with so many of them, are stressed. It's
oh my God, yes.
stress and anxiety, and I'm so stressed, and they hold on to it like it's a prized possession.
Yeah.
And what it is they're just not allowing themselves to just breathe and don't control it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually having this conversation with another friend of mine, and she was talking about how much stress there is. I think her daughter is 13 or 14, but the amount of stress just coming out of school, there's so much competition for things that it's, it's really, I mean, the only thing I really worried about in school wasn't competition. I was pretty much a smarty pants, was that I was just damned to hell if I did the wrong thing. That was my only concern, that I would somehow break a rule and, God would send me to hell. Like maybe I'd miss mass or something, and then I was doomed. But that was, that was
I think the upbringing that we had has such a definite positive spin on who we are today.
in a way, yeah.
There are a lot of people who still feel that way, and you when we come upon them, we kind of go, oh,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So there's so much more life for you.
Yeah.
Than,
I remember thinking one time, when I think I was about 13, which is pretty young. I was like, oh my God, guilt, what a waste of time. Like I realized that, like, of course I still have other kinds of guilt, but that sort of religious guilt about, I was like, wow, we really wrap ourselves up in that. And I was young when I gave that up. So I
you
think
are so lucky.
that was, yeah, I know. But I am a Cancer and you're a Capricorn, and it's
Right.
harder for the Capricorn.
My dog just jumped on the bed.
I was going to say, that's that Claude.
That's that Claude. All 115 pounds of him.
He is very cute. You couldn't swirl around so we could take a look at him. Would that mess things up for you?
Hey, you.
Hi, Claude.
Are you looking at? There you are.
Oh, here he is.
There you are.
Thank you.
I was doing yoga this morning with Just Breathe Yoga from Sandwich. She's been doing free yoga on Zoom, and so I do it out in the 3-season room, and he was on the other side of the door crying. So finally I leaned over and I opened the slider, and he came in. He sits right on the edge of the mat and leans up against me like, I love you, Mom. I think he just loves to hear her voice.
Yeah.
And perhaps my heart is at such a low level that it's like a teddy bear laying up against a teddy bear.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
So how you doing with now you can't practice. I had another massage therapist on the other day, and it's just really, it's a real challenge now.
I can't practice. One of the other things that I do it, but I haven't had the time to really invest in it, is I went to school for health coaching.
Oh.
Now, how interesting is this, that what we need to be doing is boosting our immune system.
That's right.
And the only way that we can do that is by cleaning up our microbiome and taking, the simplest of vitamins, vitamin C,
Yep.
zinc, and so there is a little part of me that says this would be the most wonderful progression as I age, to age into, not only wearing purple, but
Right.
I've had clients on the table say to me, you're like the country doctor.
Yeah.
Because you do massage, and from massage you transition into myofascial release if I don't have oil on my hands, or do myofascial release first and then do massage, because the two don't go together. And then I'll end up at their feet and I'll start doing reflexology, and I'll ask them, I'll find something going on in their feet, and I'll say, how's your stomach been feeling? Or have you been having headaches?
Yeah.
How's your eyesight been? Or I'll, do a little joint pull on the pinky toe, and they'll be like, and I'm like, well, that's your left shoulder. What? Like, how can you read my body from my feet? And that's what reflexology, the ancient art of reflexology, is. Right? You love reflexology, Vicki.
You know it, baby girl. That was, when I say she saved my life, she saved my life from the feet up. I think the first time I laid down on the table and you did reflexology, you spent the whole hour or maybe hour and a half just on my feet.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
it changed, it completely shifted me.
I call it an internal massage from your feet
Oh my God, it's like the best.
because you're hitting every single organ, endocrine system, absolutely everything,
Okay.
reproductive, your brain, your eyes, everything.
Right.
And then, they'll say something about, I don't know, I've got this dry patch and the doctor says it's psoriasis. And I'm like, well, okay, that's your spleen or your liver.
Yep.
So, do you get really hot? Well, how do you sleep at night? Well, I sleep on my right side. Do you get really hot? I do. I'm like, that's because your liver doesn't like being laid upon. So try rolling on the other side. So it's all of these wonderful things that I've learned from
Right.
classes, from anecdotes, from reading, from understanding, and do you know Val, my teacher? Val Vonner?
No, no.
Oh my gosh, I have to introduce you to Val.
She could be my friend.
She could definitely be your friend. Yes. Val's wonderful. Val spearheaded this form of reflexology.
Okay.
And with her friend back in like 1976, I want to say. I mean, she's amazing. And the amount of knowledge that I've gleaned from all of the different things that I've done and I'm still going to school for myofascial release with John Barnes, who's going to be 86 this year. So I am blessed every single class that I go to, and I realize I've got you, the master, teaching me.
Right.
That is just so profound.
That is profound.
Yeah.
I've had a few of those teachers, and yeah.
It means a lot. I've not had the honor of having him work on me, but at some point in time, he's going to see my hand go up and he's going to pull me up because it's a seminar format, and he's up on the stage and working and so forth. And he just immediately sends people into an unwinding just from touching. He's so centered.
Right.
And that's what he wants to impart to all of his students. So every single myofascial seminar that I go to, you just come away, you're overflowing with knowledge, and you just want to touch as many people as you possibly can.
I think, and this, it sounds to me like there's this, and I don't know myofascial. I don't know if I've ever even had it, so I'd be happy to,
Oh, I'll work on you.
Yes. Okay. But it's like with when I was doing craniosacral, right? And I know you do craniosacral as well.
Very closely related.
Right. But, as a chiropractor, I was always putting force into a patient. Like that's the energy, right? It's like put force in. And when I did craniosacral because I had this thought that I was getting old and maybe I shouldn't, like after a while, jumping on people for a living, it's tiring. And, so I did the craniosacral, and it was such a different, it was more of an unwinding than it was of a, and I remember thinking, how am I going to know? Like, how am I going to feel this? Like I can feel like bones moving, not moving, and all that stuff, but how am I going to feel this? And I just remember thinking, I'm just going to feel it. And it was like you put yourself in that space and you hold the space for that, and it happens. And all of a sudden you start feeling stuff and you're like, is this my imagination or is this really happening? It's not.
No.
It's not. It's amazing. And it sounds like myofascial might be a similar state of mind almost, right?
Whereas with craniosacral, you are looking for the rhythm that the cerebral spinal fluid is causing the bones to have, rolling out and expanding.
Right.
With myofascial, after you've looked at the hips and balanced things, or look to see where you're not balanced, then you just start to work. Is it a leg pull? Is it don't do it? No. he just saw people walk by. I'm sorry. Is it a leg pull? Am I going to be working on hamstrings? Do I need to work on, where do I need to go? It's like, it's a constant conversation with the body. People will say to me, you must be so tired at the end of the day. And I go, no, my brain's fried at the end of the day. Because I'm constantly talking to the tissue.
Right.
Where do you want to go? What do we want to do? Oh, wait, what are we saying here? And whoever else is talking to me at the same time. And that's all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, it's
so what's really very cool is one of the most recent classes that John Barnes has added. I don't want to say it's the last. Is called fascial cranium, and it's so close to craniosacral. Whereas craniosacral goes through the vaults of the pelvis and the respiratory and the thoracic. To get to the head, you can work fascial cranium just
on the head
with that. But it's the same thing. You know, you've got your sphenoid pull, you've got your frontal lobe lift, you're working with ears, you do a lot of internal mouth work. You can reset eyeballs. I mean, cut it out. It is so amazingly cool that it's like I can't even sit still sometimes. So I am working toward, as a matter of fact, next month I was supposed to have been going to Delaware for fascial pelvis and cervical thoracic class, but now everything is canceled, obviously. So that will happen. But I'm working my way towards being a master therapist.
Awesome.
MFR3. Yeah.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you are a master already.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I know that you have a very high bar.
I do.
You do.
I need to do it right, you know. I need to know. Well, because so I have fascial pelvis, as you can imagine, is one of those classes that. What do you mean you haven't taken that yet? Right. I've done MFR1, I've done MFR2, I've done unwinding, I've done fascial cranium. No, I haven't done fascial cranium. I've worked in fascial cranium. And people will say to me, are you sure you haven't done fascial pelvis? I'm like, well, no, I have the book and I look through the book all the time, right? Which the John Barnes MFR books and the Upledger craniosacral books intertwine with each other. They're the same format. They're the same pictures. It's the same descriptions. So the blending of it is really very cool. Anyway, the person that works on me for myofascial, he says all the time, it's amazing that you have not done fascial pelvis yet because you know so much. Right. And I'd say, I haven't. I need more. I need, I think of people like you, chiropractors that I know, you come first up, the iliac crest and seeing someone stand strange or the seam of their pant go off to the side, you know, or the person, this makes me, cringe, come in with, the doctor gave me another lift for my shoe. I'm like, it's your pelvis. Yeah. It's not, you know, when we're just jamming that femur back up into your hip bone and yeah, it's going to cause you more pain. And so anyway, I'm always trying to give people tools for as much as I know of how to become more comfortable. Right. How to balance yourself. Yeah. Do you have the SOAS book?
I do, actually.
That is phenomenal too.
Show it to me. Do you have? Yep. I have it.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, this is my nighttime reading. Fascial pelvis. SOAS. I'm driven.
I know that.
And avoiding boring people. The James D. Watson that discovered DNA.
I can't imagine that you know any boring people. I don't know any boring people.
No, it's just a new book. No. Besides that, if they're boring, they just kind of float out of my life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Or I'll say something a little off the wall and they usually skitter away.
Yeah.
I just scare them right out of the room.
And you're
The
going,
only time that the only time that doesn't work is if I'm related to them. And then, sometimes
oh yeah,
you have to just sort of,
you're crazy, Vicky.
no, they just sort of look at me and because they like me, they sort of tolerate me. But yeah. Well, this has really been a great conversation. I mean, I can only say that you have given me some of my best massages and foot reflexology sessions.
Well, that's a tall order. You're married to Michael.
I know he's pretty amazing too. But sometimes when you marry them,
Oh, I know.
it
I
just
can't work on my husband.
yeah, it changes things.
It does. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I don't know. It's like well, I take care of him chiropractically and
Hmm.
do craniosacral on him if he needs it. But yeah, it's a different relationship than the relationship you have with your patient.
I think that craniosacral work is different in that, you really get into a zone when you're holding somebody's head.
Yes, it's a sacred space.
It's a sacred space, and it's not the same as, like, I get angry if I'm working on Brian's legs because I think of all those times where I was like, stretch, and he didn't. Um, so it's a good thing to avoid for me.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
to work on his head is just, but that's not his issue is his pelvis. So it's, maybe that's my nut to crack. I don't know.
Maybe that's why you haven't taken pelvic fat.
Fascial pelvis.
Yes, because then you'd have to maybe
No,
work on Brian.
no, he really needs to fly away to Arizona for 2 to 3 weeks and go to therapy on the rocks and have other people, multiple people work on him.
Yes.
You think about how many surgeries he's had below his belly button and how much restrictions he's got and everything. It's
Right.
way past my pay grade.
Right.
I can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's better not to. That's why they don't have doctors treat their family. So I think it's good. I think it's good. You need I think to be a good therapist, you need a little bit of distance.
You do.
You need that distance. You can't do it when it's this close. Even like taking care of my mother now, it's so hard. And I'm compassionate. I'm a compassionate soul, but sometimes I just want to rip my hair out or rip her hair out. And that's frowned upon, even though she's got plenty of hair still. She could afford to lose a couple of strands, but quadruple Leo that she is. But
we're reaching 100 this year.
yeah, 100. Yeah. We'll see if she makes it. We'll see if I make it to her 100th. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's we've both had our challenges with our mothers,
And another thing we had in common.
Yeah, and I think to a certain extent it drives us. It certainly drove me to Massachusetts from New Jersey.
Certainly drove me to Massachusetts from Connecticut.
There you go. See how that works? And because of our mothers, we're friends.
Well, I think it was just part of it. It was part of the jelly bowl. Just,
Yeah.
And we got this, and we got this.
Yeah. But the fact that we both converged in one place because we were running,
Right.
would say running away, but we were
Right.
spreading our
We
wings.
were called. Oh, we were definitely called to Massachusetts. You were called to Situate, right? Wasn't it Situate you wanted to live in?
I don't know if I wanted to live anywhere particular, but I did, for the first time in my life, feel like I was home when I came to Massachusetts. And my boyfriend lived in Situate at the time, in Minot, and that was beautiful. It's a beautiful place to live.
Yeah.
Until they have a nor'easter and it's underwater again.
Well, so I was living in Hummerock.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You did go underwater. Oh, the nor'easters.
It came up to my knees. It didn't
Oh,
go.
okay. I do remember.
Many rocks.
Yes. All right, honey. Well, it's been really great, and we'll have to connect off of my conversation with friends. And now I know we both have time, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. We'll connect again when I've done fascial pelvis also. Ooh.
Okay. Oh, all right, baby. I got a pelvis for you. Goodness gracious. No, I don't mean that. I mean, I want to see you and you don't have to touch me. But if you touch me, that's good too.
Yeah. Right. Well, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, Vicki. This was a lot of fun.
Right?
Yeah.
And, I kind of do this because just so people can hear other people's story, and maybe it inspires something in them, and maybe they feel a commonality. They're like, hey, wait, that happened to me. And it just gives us more understanding of one another. And I
Yeah.
think that the more we can connect in these ways and sort of be vulnerable, and open up about this stuff, I think it's going to be a better world for it. And I'm all for that.
It's
You know,
definitely be a different world.
yeah, well,
I think it's
no,
becoming a lean toward this.
yeah, I had a client today, and I said I would hate to think that after all of this, we go back to the old way.
No.
That would be the worst thing in
Mhm.
my estimation. I said we are in a new level of consciousness that we're entering, and people need healers.
Mhm.
People need people to hold their head and adjust them and massage their feet and do reflexology, because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be let go of. And your release massage, right?
Release therapeutic massage, exactly. Came to me while I was meditating. Um, the the disconnect of people's bodies
Yes.
from their head,
Yes.
and supported by Western medicine's thought process.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's not that way.
Right. Where it's
We're one whole thing,
we're
one
one
whole
whole
being.
thing. Yeah, and that's the connection, I think, also, if you look at it from the perspective of the masculine and the feminine, because like elementally, fire and air is masculine, and water and earth is feminine. And water and earth is our feelings and our body. And there is a disconnect, where the feminine isn't valued. And yet, and so we need the balance. And as body workers and as healers, we help support that, so that spirit, and so that we can be reconnected to our essence. Because I think as human beings, we're a bridge between the physical world and the heavenly realms. And so we need to come from that place, and that place is a place of heart. And all healing is really love. It's just
That's right.
it's like holding the place of love. One of my teachers said, you can never heal somebody you judge. You need to. That's why you can't do Brian, because you're like, I told you should stretch those legs, right?
Exactly.
Because you're judging that he didn't do what you told him to do. Where, right? But it's okay though. Like, there are other people for him,
That's right.
right?
To know yourself is more important than to just believe I am the end all be all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So wonderful talking to you again, honey. You take care of yourself. Give Claude a big hug for me, and Brian.
Yeah.
Claude's the dog.
Well,
Brian's the husband.
yeah.
And I'll talk to you again soon. I'm just
Oh,
gonna stop the recording, okay?
peace to you, my darling. Thank you.
Okay.